Speedworld.
Hi, I'm Kris Chapman at Anaheim Stadium in Southern California. Coming up, 9 of America's wildest monsters battle it out for the first time ever on an extremely dangerous Z-shaped obstacle course.
Welcome, everybody. I'm Bret, Kepner at the Metrodome in Minneapolis, Minnesota, where 24 of the nation's toughest super-modified mud racers have assembled, including South Dakota State champion Joe Reinold, in what could be one of the wildest super-modified battles ever in the North Country. 14 aggressive drivers will sprint through the mud at speeds of up to 65 miles per hour. Welcome to the 1991 Monster Truck Challenge Series.
I'm here with Jim Kramer, driver of Bigfoot 9, and Jim, I understand you brought this truck out here with a fresh coat of paint on it.
Well, the fresh coat of paint comes in on the underside. We made a lot of changes in this truck. We built this truck to be a very lightweight truck, but now we have designated weights we have to comply with, which is 10,000 pounds, so we went and put heavier axles in and actually weighted the truck back down to make it meet that rule. Well, this is a very challenging course. I've never seen a course like it. It's like a double Z, and it's a lot of turning, braking, acceleration. It's going to be very challenging to do, plus the fact that a lot of changes have been made in the truck. I've got to do some adaptation to meet the needs to be able to run this track, and I think I'm ready. I hope the truck's ready.
The track itself is ready as well. One of the more bizarre courses ever in monster truck racing, a zigzag Z course that could present more than its fair share of problems for unfamiliar drivers. Jim Reese from right here in the Los Angeles area will kick off qualifying with the Ecology Junkyard Eliminator. What a hit! The first launch of the night is a sky-high ride. Now making the first turn to the right, a short straightaway, then a hard left. And Reese handles it beautifully as he sets himself up for the final straight. The finish line located at the end of the crushed cars on the final straight. There's the finish line poles, and Reese sets the pace in qualifying. The first run, 21.17 seconds for the Eliminator. Meanwhile, Robert Parker, the AM/PM Boss Ford, leads the line. Parker handling the first turn with a little bit of apprehension, and understandably, this is a unique course. Most drivers have never, ever competed on a course like this. Whoa, rear wheel up in the air as Parker tries to cut the last turn a little bit sharp. But straightens it out for a good run. The elapsed time for the California Ford of Seth Dalton and Robert Parker, 23.02 seconds. That'll be good for the number 2 spot. On the starting line this time around, Bobby Z at the wheel of the Skull Crusher Ford. Big time problems as Z actually gets caught up in some fender panels on the junk cars. And now takes a conservative approach to the very first turn. Getting on the throttle a little harder now and going very, very tight into the last turn. Lining himself up for the finish line. Z crosses the finish with a time to beat of 21.17 seconds. His elapsed time, 26.09 seconds. So while Jim Reese's high-flying Eliminator leads, Bigfoot is yet to come. Stay with us. This season. As we prepare to continue qualifying here at Anaheim, Kris Chapman had a chance to take a look at things up close earlier.
I'm standing next to a monster truck tire just to give you a better perspective on how big these tires really are. Each tire is about 3 feet wide and about 5.5 feet tall. They weigh 950 pounds and support over 10,000 pounds. With all of these lofty numbers, you probably wonder how much tire pressure each tire holds. The answer is a surprising 11 pounds. For a better comparison, your average passenger car tire requires about 32 pounds.
Qualifying is underway. We still have 3 more machines to go, including this machine. The legendary Bigfoot with the team #1 driver Jim Kramer at the wheel. The mark to beat 21.17 seconds. The Ford taking the starting line more aggressively than anybody has so far and making the turn harder than any truck yet. Kramer stumbles a little bit on the last turn, but now gets hard on the throttle of the supercharged Ford. The mark to beat 21.17 seconds. Kramer and Bigfoot runs 21.13 seconds. By 0.04 of a second, the Ford takes over the pole from Jim Reese. But the battle isn't over yet. Here's Dennis Anderson and the crowd favorite, the Gravedigger. Unbelievable airborne leap. Anderson lands and heads into the first turn. Hard on the throttle, now hard on the brakes as he goes hard, tight left and heads for the finish line. The mark to beat still 21.13. And problems for Anderson. A small exhaust header fire underneath the truck. He's got big-time problems. What was certainly going to be the best run of the event so far now ends with the fire extinguishers being sprayed on the green Chevrolet. On the starting line, Gary Schott's Valvoline racer gets ready, but looking at the replay of Dennis Anderson's mishap, it's important to note that our ESPN timers indicated that Anderson was bettering Bigfoot's qualifying time by some 3 seconds when the problem occurred in the last turn. He had the run of the event going, but settles for a time of 3 minutes, 32 seconds flat. Gary Schott heads very conservatively for the first set of cars. Big power stand as he applies power in the middle of the crushed cars, now moving into turn 1. Schott at this point seems concerned that the heavyweight Valvoline Chevrolet may not be suited as much to this particular track as some of the lighter weight trucks, as he is apparently just going to take his time and make sure he gets around this course in order to qualify. He'll already be well ahead of Dennis Anderson's Gravedigger. The elapsed time, 33.09 seconds. Chris Chapman is talking with Dennis Anderson right now.
Dennis, tire and monster trucks do not mix.
Yeah, I know it. What happened to me is one of my my little wing nuts on my injector got loose, and the throttle was sticking on me. So I was hammering on the brakes trying to get it to slow down so I could make this turn. So I just shut it down over there and said, what the heck, I'm going to lose out on qualifying. But we came back, we got the idle set back down on it, and I finished my course, so I'm still in.
So what did you think when you looked back there? And I'm sure you could see there was a fire.
Yeah, well, I knew my brakes were hot. I could smell it before I even stopped. So I was just hoping it didn't go burst into flames. So we got it together. We're ready to go again.
And then whatever possessed you to go off the other end of the track and almost turn it over?
Yeah, well, that was for my fans, you know. And if I would have gone up and crawled across the cars, that's not my style. I got to get air and be wild.
And wild he is. Thank you, Chris. So with qualifying over, Bigfoot leads by 0.04 of a second, but that was only qualifying. The race itself is yet to come. Stay with us. We're back at Anaheim Stadium in Anaheim, California, and ready for the first round of side-by-side monster truck racing on one of the most bizarre courses ever conceived, a zigzag Z-shaped course. Bigfoot versus Gary Schott and the Valvoline Monster leave the starting line together, and Bigfoot drives away like a rocket. Now into the tight first turn, each driver making a hard right into their own individual lane. But this one won't even be close. It's almost a solo run for Jim Kramer. Look at him make the turns, get right back on the throttle. He'll cross the finish line well ahead of the heavyweight Chevrolet. And in Gary Schott's defense, it should be pointed out that he's giving up about 7,000 pounds to the Big Blue Ford, and just to make it that close was a chore in itself. The next pair already staging up and ready for action. The AM/PM boss of Robert Parker on the right-hand side against the green machine that had problems. Dennis Anderson, another incredible leap in the Gravedigger. They go into the first turn. Parker stalls and will hand a huge advantage to the Gravedigger Chevrolet. Parker apparently unable to recover. It'll be another near solo effort. Anderson goes to the next round. should be pointed out that the quickest loser of this first round will be inserted into the semifinal field of 4. But Parker is still stuck at the end of the first straight. He will not be a factor in that. The next pair on the starting line, it'll be in the far lane, the Ecology Eliminator of your number 2 qualifier, Jim Reese. Huge hole shot over the green Skull Crusher. Look at Reese sideways off the first set of cars, now setting up for that hard right-hand turn. They actually make the turn together. It looks like the Skull Crusher may actually be a factor here. But look at the red Chevrolet driver locking up the brakes with the rear wheels coming up. He hits the pole. But that won't be a disqualification yet. Reese hits the finish line a winner. After one of the wilder rides, and credit has to go to the Skull team for keeping up in a heated battle. On the replay, you can see the hole shot. Watch this landing for the red Chevrolet sideways there. But when they went into the first hard, literally U-turn to the right, it was really an even battle. The difference was made up right here. The Chevrolet powers into the turn, locks up the brakes, and pulls the rear wheels off the ground. He taps the pole, but Reese straightens it out and comes home a winner in the first round of eliminations. A wild run for the hometown favorite. But obviously Reese has his sights set on bigger prey. He wants Gravedigger and Bigfoot. And coming up, he'll have his chance. The 3 greatest trucks in this battle will wage war. Don't go. But problems already set in here in the first race of the semifinals, and Jim Reese's Ecology Eliminator drives away from the struggling Skull Crusher. It should be a free ride for the Chevrolet pilot. Reese manages to keep the rear wheels on the ground coming around the last turn this time around. Now nails the throttle hard to cross the finish line and advance into his first final round appearance of the 1991 U.S. Hobbit Association season. Big problems for the Skull Crusher team. As you can see, they won't even make it to the finish line. On the replay, the look at Reese. You want to talk about aggressive driving styles? This man means business in a huge way. The last turn was nearly perfect, locking up the brakes, then heel to toe, back to the gas, hard on the throttle, and coming across the finish line a winner. Bobby Z was never in the contest. That will bring up the clash of the Titans, Bigfoot and Gravedigger, to meet the Ecology Eliminator in the final. A wheel standing launch for the Gravedigger, but a sideways landing. He'll make the turn anyway. Jim Kramer and Bigfoot swings around perfectly and has to make up the difference. Coming into the last turn, it's going to be tight. Anderson goes wide and looked almost scared of running into Bigfoot side by side, but now Kramer goes past the winner. Look at Anderson all over the track, but a loser nonetheless as Bigfoot uses sheer intimidation to win. You can see the advantage going to the Gravedigger off the starting line. Then that bobble allowed Jim Kramer to make up time. That put them dead even going into the last turn. Now watch Anderson. He had it straightened out, but saw the blue Ford coming around. He actually gave room to Jim Kramer and then went sideways trying to make up for his own mistake. Kramer benefits on Anderson's indecision. So as a dejected Dennis Anderson heads to the pits, the semifinals have produced a Ford versus Chevy Eliminator versus Bigfoot battle, and Chris Chapman has Jim Kramer. Chris?
Jim Kramer, an impressive win over Gravedigger. How'd that make you feel?
Oh, real good. I tell you what, my Firestone tires are biting so hard, I got to loosen up my clutch so I get more hole shot. He jumped me out of the hole, but I got him in the corner, and that's the main thing.
Now you're coming up against the local favorite, Jim Reese, the Eliminator.
Jim, I've raced before. We kind of go tit for tat, you know what I mean? Sometimes he wins, sometimes I do. I'm going to give him a heck of a run. The truck's doing well. I'm going to try to keep it together.
Good luck to you.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, Chris. And from Anaheim, California, we now head to the Metrodome in Minneapolis, Minnesota for the quickest and fastest indoor motorsports machines in the world, the super modified mud racers. Battling for a lap's time on an 80-foot-long pit, it's the ABE machine of Joe Reinhold, the South Dakota State champion, a Chevy-powered Jeep CJ funny car, against Bill Worth and the Mud Dragon, another Chevy-powered Jeep, the Red Machine, in the near lane. 80 feet of distance in which to race, then 80 more to stop. Reinhold hard on the brakes. He stops within inches of the disqualification line, marking the end of the shutdown area. You got to stop him at 80 feet. 3.35 seconds for the ABE team, 3.47 for Worth. The drivers trying to qualify for 4 available positions. From Kentucky, it's T-Ray in the TNT Supercharged Jeep in the near lane against Mike Stark in the Stark Raving Mad short wheelbase entry. T-Ray with a great run on the brakes hard, but he goes past the 80-foot mark in stopping distance, and he knew it. Stark, in the meantime, is okay at 4.40 seconds. In the far lane from Waukegan, Illinois, Mark Green's brand new Mudbuster. We took a look earlier. It may look confusing, but for the last 5 years, this has been the best working suspension in super modified mud racing. But this year, Mark Green's incredible Mudbuster Jeep out of Illinois has something else going for it, along with an incredibly hard-working chassis, about 400 extra horsepower, the brand new supercharged Chevrolet motor, and its first time out here at the Metrodome.
Everybody else is going to these big superchargers, and there's a lot of organizations that just don't allow the nitrous anymore, and you just have to put a supercharger on it.
In the near lane from Minneapolis, it'll be Dwayne Hirsch in the Psychobabble supercharged small block machine, and he straps one on Green. They both stop in time. The Mudbuster machine at 2.75 seconds, the quickest run of the night so far, but a 2:47 for Hirsch puts him in the #1 spot. Lynn Brink in the 32 Special supercharged big block Chevy-powered coupe leaves the line. On the brakes hard. He'll barely stop it in time at 2.50 seconds. That'll put him into the shootout field. Remember, only the 4 quickest positions will get into actual eliminations for the Camel Shootout. It'll be Gordon Jesse in the point blank in the far lane. In the near lane, John Daly in the aptly named Hang On, a fireball in the point blank machine, which goes out of bounds, but Daly runs a career best 2:48.3. That'll qualify him for the Camel Shootout right now in the #3 position. So the qualifying results show us that the Psychobabble of Hirsch, the hometown favorite, leads at 2:47, followed by the Hang On machine of Daly, then the 32 Special of Brink, and the new Mudbuster of Mark Green in 4th. Coming up, monster truck action continues from California, and more mud racing from Minneapolis. Here at the Metrodome in Minneapolis, the crowd is ready for the possibility of a hometown boy winning the Super Modified Mud Racing Championships, and he's first up. Dwayne Hirsch in the Psychobabble supercharged small block Chevrolet Jeep CJ Funny Car has first shot of the 4 quick qualifiers. On the brakes hard, he'll stop it in time. The run is best so far, 2.571 seconds. The local youngster may well have a shot at winning this. Here's John Daly in the Hang On. He had a career best in the first round. Daly hits the ruts. A rough ride. He'll stop in time. The elapsed time, 2.70 seconds, though, won't better Hirsch's hometown hitter. The helmet comes off. He gets the news. He's not thrilled. Now Lynn Brink in the supercharged 32 Special Coupe is up. Tire spin, and Brink shuts it off early to avoid from going out of bounds, and that will keep him from bettering Hirsch's 2:57. Lynn Brink runs 2.94 seconds. And now the final run of the Camel Quick Force Shootout. Mark Green out of Waukegan, Illinois with the Mudbuster. On the brakes hard. He stops it in time with a matter of feet away from disqualification. He had to go quicker than 2:57. He runs 2.38 seconds. And on its maiden event voyage, Green manages to pull out a win with the brand new Mudbuster, beating Dwayne Hirsch on the final run of the event. Unbelievable job for Mark Green. Meanwhile, back in Anaheim, California, we are ready for a showdown of monster behemoths. It'll be Jim Kramer at the wheel of the Bigfoot Ford, taking on another hometown hitter, Jim Reese, at the wheel of the Ecology Auto Wrecking Eliminator. The Z-shaped course has caused quite a few drivers to make several second guesses that cost them a run. But right now, everybody will have to go all out. They leave the line, and the whole shot goes to the hometown Chevrolet. Through the air, they head for the first turn, and a tap. They actually touched going into the first turn. Kramer, hard on the throttle, takes the turn perfectly in the blue Ford. They now move into the last turn. And they collide. Unbelievable. Kramer gets back on the gas and will cruise across the finish line, a winner in Bigfoot. This is going to be a big, big decision by Reese is mad. Mike Speller in front of the truck, the USHRA Association event director, talking with officials by way of two-way radio to find out whether or not it's a legal maneuver. The whole shot definitely went to the Chevrolet. They touch there when Reese gets on the brakes too hard for the first turn. Kramer makes up this much distance, and they come out of the last turn together. Incredible! Was there a driver at fault in this situation? And we just received word from the USHRA Association officials that Bigfoot is the winner. The win officially goes to Bigfoot. The Eliminator sitting with a flattened tire. Driver Jim Reese throwing his gloves in the cockpit. The crew is upset. They say no way. Jim Kramer is out of Bigfoot, and Chris Chapman's got him.
Jim, I think you heard the verdict. You are the winner.
Well, that's why we have officials. The track is really narrow over there. And we talked about this earlier at the drivers' meeting, that when you swing around like that, we've got a little more room, even if you have to drop off of that berm. It's not an ideal track, but that's what we chose to run with. It's a little tight in that area. And all night long, like I discussed with Gravedigger, that came up. Just drop off that berm, give a little room. You got to give a little bit. And that's why I got officials. If they thought I was in his lane, I would be disqualified, and he would be the winner. But they judged that I was okay, and he didn't give me enough room. So it was a good run. He run hard. Jim Reese is really a good competitor, and we'll get him next time, or he'll get me, maybe.
What in the world went through your mind when y'all got together out there?
All I heard was a boom. It didn't feel real bad. I don't think we have a lot of damage. I really need to check it out.
Jim, it doesn't really seem fair that you're not in there. It looked like you had that race won.
Yeah, I thought I had it run. It was a real good run for me. I feel like the best of the night. Track conditions are a little tough. It gets tight in this corner, and you know, I don't think it was a fair call, but I guess that's racing.
So do you believe Jim Kramer came into your lane and knocked you out of this one?
Yeah, I do. You know, when you come into a situation like this, you have to bow right away. You know, I came out of my corner. I was accelerating, heading for the finish line. As you can see, if you point the camera, there's only so much lane here before you have a drop-off. Where was I to go? Over there? Probably would have ended up the same way.
Looks like you are obviously not satisfied with the official's decision.
Well, yeah, I'm not real happy. You know, this is our hometown. Got a lot of fans here. We came out here to race and then come out on top, and we thought we had a chance at it. But I'll have to settle with second place tonight.
Indeed he will, after one of the most outrageous final rounds imaginable. The Ecology Eliminator comes out second best, and another victory for the Bigfoot team. Here's another look at the picture-perfect supermodified winning run of Mark Green. Stopping within 2 feet of a disqualification to win again. Well, Mark Green lives out a racer's dream, debuting a brand new machine that he built himself, and despite radical changes, coming out on top. But now the Mudbuster crew gets to experience the real thrill of supermodified mud racing, cleaning up. Thanks for being with us. I'm Bret Kepner. See you next time.
From a very muddy Anaheim Stadium in Southern California, I'm Chris Chapman. Good night.
Thanks for being with us on the 1991 Monster Truck Challenge Series. We'll see you at the next stop on the USHRA Association Tour. This has been a GRB Entertainment production in association with ESPN.